You acting right. Expeditiously.
Expeditiously.
Yeah. Well, um, welcome back to the Fandamentals Podcast, where we talk all things related to sports.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's we got tonight. NBA kicks off.
Yeah.
But I've been reading some stuff that kind of has me a little bit disappointed, man. It's been a lot of talk about Cooper Kupp possibly being traded. And I don't know how true that is, but it looks like he is on the block, man. Ugh, I hate it.
Personally, I don't think he's on the block. I think it's just rumors, how they always do sometimes. Because personally, what's the reason? He could be secretively. But I don't think the Rams are getting rid of Cooper Kupp unless he's asking out. I don't think they're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. What are y'all gonna get? Y'all can get a lot for him, but at the same time, like
we could get a second round pick, and
y'all could
we could get a second and third.
But it wouldn't make no sense for y'all to do that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do it personally if I was the Rams. You do got young talent, and maybe they fit. Maybe it is that they're feeling that they might need to rebuild completely.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading. They're talking about the money that he's going to make next year, and him not staying healthy is part of the concern. The thing is, as a Rams fan, I don't want to dive too much into it because you know how I feel about Cooper Kupp, and obviously we know me and you both remember the era where players played for the same team tried to for the most part for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And honestly, Cooper Kupp's career, he's been with the Rams, and it's been a good period of time, right? But it's one of them things where I would hate to see him go, no matter what. I would hate to see him go.
Yeah, for real. For real.
I it's just something that I would not want to see. So yeah, it's
I knew that was gonna be bad news for you, bro.
Yeah.
Just to even hear it, the echoing rumors of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel you.
And then it snowballs into other rumors. I've seen dumb things where they're talking about trading with Minnesota to get Sam Darnold for Matthew Stafford. That wouldn't.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just people start to put dumb stuff out there. And that's frustrating.
Yeah, I feel like if they trade Cooper Kupp, it'll probably be in the off season. I don't think they're gonna do it during the season. It's so much the other receivers can learn from him as well, but at the same time, it's not light. It just, I can't say it doesn't make sense to do it because you might as well get what you can for them. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? I don't
doesn't seem real.
It just kind of popped up out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you see these things, it be, kind of trickling down the pipeline for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But just to be all of a sudden out the blue, Cooper Kupp is on trade rumors. It could be true, but, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think the Rams are actually going to get rid of Cooper Kupp. I definitely understand the thought process of trying to. They could be fielding options, or maybe a couple of teams reached out to him, and you know how that kind of gets started. A couple of teams reach out to you to check the pulse of that, and the Rams may not be on some, no, we ain't trading them, or they might just be listening, or just to see what they might be able to get or gauge his value.
Right. But to see for the off season.
Yeah. But hold on, this thing just did something. Am I still in there?
Yeah, you're here.
No, my whole thing just did something crazy. Oh wow! Now I'm doubled up.
Yeah, I can hear it too. Let's see. Let me open the other tabs. It just says close it and come back in.
There it goes.
All right.
I don't know why I had it open. I don't know how the other tab got open, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just tech. I think it's a pulse check. People, I feel like other NFL teams just went to gauges the temperature on that.
If we were not in the same division, if the Rams were not in the same division as the 49ers, and the 49ers clearly need another receiver right now, what would you be okay?
Not too much.
What would you be okay with the 49ers giving up for Cooper Kupp?
Brandon Ayuk.
He's out for the season. He's out for the season.
Yeah, man. We don't got nothing right now, bro. Like, for real. We don't really have... I don't know. It probably I ain't never really paid attention to their picks. I think we might got a couple of picks, but
that y'all can give up for it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, y'all have done well building over the last 5 years, but
yeah,
it's
we can't stay healthy.
This year has been, but I feel like it's been like that for a lot of teams though.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like that because did you watch the games last night?
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
Why was Chris Godwin still playing?
I mean,
that's tricky. I get it. You feel like you're down by 10.
They're down by 10. If they can get quick score, big play receiver. I mean, it's easy to say that because of the nature of the injury and how it happened, but that's a freak accident. You know what I'm saying? How often do you see that type of injury just happen that way? Usually a player just, they just get hurt, or they might just be, and then they get back up. So it's easy to be like, why was he still in the game? Well, they were still trying to win at the same time. So I mean, even with a slim margin of victory, a chance, it's just like you got the ball, you're down 10, you have good field position.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Why not try? There's always
another onside kick.
Exactly, another onside. They just picked up one. They almost it's just like it's too easy to be like, why was he in the game when it would have been a different story if they were down 35 or 20, like how they were, and it was in the last final moments of the game like that, and then they don't have no chance of winning, and then it's like, why is he in the game? But if you have an opportunity to try to win, what's wrong with trying? It's just a freak bang bang play, freak accident happen. I hope what I'm saying that that's just a nasty injury, but at the same time, that was a regular football move, a regular football tackle. He just happened to land on his leg, and
the ankle.
I mean, it's not much you really can say about it. You know what I'm saying? It's too. But my thing about it is just people get too excited and be like, "Well, why was he in the game that late in the game?" Well, you're supposed to play all the way to the end. You know what I'm saying? Try if you got an opportunity to win, try to win. You know.
Yeah,
it's just like my 49ers. We were down. We scored late, down 10. You're gonna try an onside kick so you can get the ball back. Try to. You know what I'm saying? There's only a minute left in the game, but you try to get anything. Any miracles can happen, because how many times have we seen miracles happen when it seeed like the odds were stacked against the team that was
very true.
Very true. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. In the moment, I was watching it and I was like, I knew immediately. I was like, that's a wrap. Like. And then, like, what clarified it was when the booth was like, "We're not going to show a replay."
Yeah, we're not going to show the replay. Yeah,
I was like, okay.
That was it.
But you're right, though. I mean, I there was a small slither. I get it. I just I feel bad for Tampa because Mike Evans is already out with the hamstring, and
And he's might be out until after their bye week or something like that, from what I read,
Yeah,
which could
yeah.
be week
100
11 or something like that.
touchdown receptions Mike Evans has.
Oh,
100.
we done discussed
100.
him already, bro.
Yes. Like he's the only active wide receiver with 100 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he talk about consistent, and I didn't realize they said he's only missed his
9 games.
11 only 9 games, 11
games.
guys. Talk about Mr. Durable, like
Yep.
man.
He's
like,
also one of them ones that plays through injuries too. So that doesn't mean he ain't been injured. He plays through them. Like he was trying to play with a hamstring.
With that hamstring, yeah.
How many people that don't play with a hamstring?
Yeah, that first touchdown he got, when he got up, you could see it. Like you could see.
He was hurting. Yeah, he knew he was hurting.
Yeah, and he almost got another touchdown.
Yep. He showed up did.
Yeah.
Did.
That was the one that took him out. But man, that dude there, man. But like,
he's a beast.
You don't see that often. You don't see that too often, man. Those kind of wide receivers anymore, though.
Longevity, boy. Longevity and consistency is crazy with him.
Yeah, it is, man.
It's sad to see him injured.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, those are the players, like, you just want to see them I want to see him add numbers to that, because even though he's not talked about, in my honest opinion, even though he seems to be not the one talked about, it's, you know, obviously it's the Justin Jeffersons and the Adams and the CeeDee Lambs, and they really don't pay attention to Mike Evans. But in my opinion, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I could agree with that.
You gotta. I mean, those numbers. If you matter. At a consistency like that, it matters.
Them numbers are insane.
Yeah,
but they're insane. So he can be easily putting up. If they don't want to give him first, he's second. He got to be in it though. He can't be. Y'all can't be BSing him like Torrey Holt. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode with Torrey Holt.
For real.
Yeah. And then I was looking at that injury that Deshaun Watson with the Achilles. Yeah. And I just thought it was jacked up, because we had talked about, you know, what we were going to discuss, and the fans, you know, like, I don't care. Okay, the off the field stuff, but that was disrespectful, man. That injury, and for fans to be excited about that ain't cool. Yeah. In my book, that ain't cool, man.
It's never that way. It should never be that way. I mean, we understand that you're frustrated as fans of the Browns. I don't know why, because it ain't like the Browns have had great teams over the years or something like that.
They've had a couple decent
playoff spouts here and there, but there's a reason why they used to wear, you know, they had the little bags and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but to wish anything on anybody's downfall like that, bro, that's disrespectful to me. It's like, even as a fan,
disgusting.
As a fan of the game, you don't even have to, like, me and you, we know we don't like the Cowboys.
Right.
But I ain't gonna wish that a Cowboy, like, if Dak was down with an ACL injury, I'm not gonna be clapping and happy about that or whatever, whatnot, or, you know, anything like that, because to me that's just they just play the game. They're trying to play it to their best of their abilities for your team, but for you to end up doing something like that, man, that's just disrespectful. I agree. I respect the players regardless, you know what I'm saying, because they don't have to be out there entertaining us at all. You know, and at the same time, it's just like, it's a game. You know what I'm saying? I don't wish nothing. I don't wish no ill will on anybody's. I don't want them messing up their money. You know, I want to see everybody healthy and playing. You know what I'm saying? But
because this is how they provide. You know,
this is how they provide. You know,
like, even as much as I dislike Patrick Mahomes, I would never want to see him suffer an injury. Like. I would never want him to see, like, I would never want to see him tear his
Facts.
Achilles or
Facts.
break his ankle. I don't.
It's just
I
like,
wouldn't want that for
and I ain't
him.
gonna clap if he do. I ain't gonna clap for
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Yeah.
would I be happy if my team was playing him and he was not playing in that game? Yeah, sure. Because as a fan of my team,
Right. You want
sure.
your
If
team to
he's
have the advantage.
if he's already injured or something like that, then he's out the game. Then I'm happy that I don't have to deal with him.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy for the fact that the man is injured and he can't play. That's just
Right.
That's just.
Well, I think what it is, man, is the biggest difference. The biggest difference in terms of fanology. I think I just made up a word. The biggest difference with it today and like prior to, I'll say before social media. Now there's so much access to players' personal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you build different relationships with them. And I think prior to that, we knew the player that we saw on the field. And that's all we really knew for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know much outside of that because sports networks were generally gonna stick to the sports and they didn't get too much into the personal things. I mean,
unless it really came out with something wild,
it had
crazy.
To be like breaking national news for it to be, you know what I mean, like the OJ Simpson thing. And granted, OJ Simpson had been retired for years out of the NFL.
Yeah, but it's still,
but it was one of those things where yes, ESPN put that story out, like, but that's a whole nother thing, right? Like you very few times do I remember hearing about the personal lives. Like, I mean, we heard some things with Darryl Strawberry, right? Back when he played, back when he was active in the 80s. But the things that we heard were things that were being like broken on a national level, right? You might have seen it on the news. But some of the smaller things, and that's not to say that Deshaun Watson, that story wouldn't have been something 30 years ago. But
it would have.
It would have, but it would have. But I think today that the fans get so much more information. You were only going to get what you read in the paper and what you saw on TV on the news, right? But what can happen now is you can go down a rabbit hole. Like, you have so much information available to you, is you could be like, well, let me watch this YouTube video about it, and let me watch this YouTube video about it, and then what happens from there is you develop a certain kind of relationship or negative, whatever it is, that might have happened to the players. So you have it's a different connection. So I think that's where the fandom has changed from then and now. I mean,
because of the access that you do have to players, so it does change the way that your fans react. I mean, some places are just, their fans are diehard fans. Like, you talking about Philly's
one of
them.
Your
Phillies, your New Yorks, majority of your Laker fans, or LA fans. Let's just put it that way. Can't just say most. Well, when you think of LA, you think of the Lakers.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah, you're right.
So the fans have changed. The access to players have changed. The things that's being reported is definitely a way to be able to steer certain topics or let people more personal onto players. It used to be like you have to watch shows like for instance the NBA Inside Stuff to get more of the personal interviews with players in some degrees, or you had to be watching the broadcast and then they might cut to an interview that they didn't have with somebody and they asked them a couple of questions. That's usually how you used to have to get majority of your information. Now I can go on Instagram, I can see what they're posting, what they're doing, you know, who's following them. Now you got people that literally follow just players. I'm not talking about like reporters that usually are really just more geared with information on a certain said player, you know, type things, you know, like for instance, Brian Windhorst and LeBron James. You know, he's really, when you want information about LeBron, Windhorst usually has
the information.
You know what I'm saying? Most of the inside scoop. You know what I'm saying? Like how Stephen A used to cover Allen Iverson for years. You know what I'm saying? Things like that.
Yeah.
You know, but you wouldn't have known if you weren't outside of Philly, you wouldn't have really known that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're beat writers and things right for that columnist or that what you call it back in those early 2000s. Then a source now with the way social media is, you can get that information from anybody.
It's available,
you know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Yeah, it's always available, and players are typically always available.
Yeah.
So that's changed a lot, and that basically walks into what we were discussing, what we was talking about, and you know, like fandom is different nowadays. You know, fandom is more player based than it is team based.
Right.
You know, especially NBA. Because of that simple reason that most of the time they are out there. You know, the NBA's you know they face, you recognize they face. You know, so it's more like nowadays it's like you ask somebody, you know, who's your favorite team, they might not really got a favorite team, but you ask them who's their favorite player, LeBron. Yeah. So they go with whatever team he's on.
Right.
I don't really care for the team, but I like LeBron, so I'm going to root for the team, and I'm going to be a diehard fan for that team for the moment. You know what I'm saying? You know how many Miami Heat fans came out of nowhere when LeBron went to Miami? No, not to knock Miami Heat fans, because D Wade had a bunch of them, you know, Wade County and all that stuff. But I'm just saying,
even
you know,
when,
it's
and
just
then when Shaq went there, that helped too.
Yeah, you got people like that follow, just really superly follow players. It's more prevalent nowadays than it is back when, you know, like your early 90s, you know, things like that. I see it, like I was saying, I see it more in the NBA than in the NFL. NFL you do, but it's different. The NFL, like you got people that became New England fans because of Tom Brady and the way that they won. Can't tell you a lick of who was the player before Tom Brady that was quarterback before he came in.
Yeah, they would never know it's Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, they don't know that. You know, so there's so many. It's just like they know Tom Brady, but they only know Tom Brady because he won. He kept winning.
Yeah,
and that's why they became Brady fans, because he was winning. And then they became New England fans because he's on New England, and they Brady fans. And you know, it's just like that domino. Same with like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know very many Kansas City fans until Patrick Mahomes came out and they won the Super Bowl, and then he started making his name big. And now, you know, he's considered one of the best quarterbacks, and then you got people that follow Casey because of Patrick Mahomes. But it's not as strong in the NFL as it is in the NBA, because in the NFL, you know, a Steelers fan has always been a Steelers fan.
Fan. Like,
I don't
Steelers
know like Cowboy fans, win, lose, or draw,
they've been there.
They're gonna be Cowboy fans. Might be mad than the mug, but they always, you know, one of the reasons why we can't stand the Mugs. Y'all 1-15, you still think you about to win the Super Bowl. But
Niner fans are the same way though. In terms of being fans, like diehard fans, like Niner fans are Niner fans. Like
when you literally can pinpoint teams that people have followed for their lives. It doesn't matter who the changing. You might be a fan of certain players, but the ever changing roster doesn't matter. I'm still a fan. Like me, I'm a diehard 49er fan. I've been that since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
You're a diehard Rams fan, whether they were in LA, whether they were in St. Louis, it didn't matter where they were at. You've been a Rams fan. You know what I'm saying? Like Saints fans, they're typically Saints fans. They aren't bandwagon jumpers. You know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. But the NBA, you can't say the same. Like, you know, you got certain people be like, oh yeah, that's a New York fan right there. They've been New York fans since but how many Spike Lees do you have? Like celebrities. But it's just so much different in
Or
the
Jack
NBA than the
Nicholas.
NFL. Jack
With the Lakers.
Nicholas
Yeah.
with the Lakers,
Yeah.
you know. But a lot of people, the way the fandom has changed, it is like I follow a player, I don't follow a team.
Right. Well,
In the older days, you could like people, like you literally like players from other teams,
mm,
but I'm
you didn't
still
see him the
like,
same way though.
yeah,
You didn't
exactly.
see
I'm still a
you.
49er fan, but I like Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was a beast over there in Dallas. I
Well,
couldn't stand
that's
Troy
the
Aikman
thing.
and Emmitt Smith, but
I've always been a fan of Steve Young. Always was a fan of Steve Young, and it was like his toughness. When I was a kid, I saw how tough he was as a quarterback. Right now,
but you can't stand the 49ers.
I can't stand the 49ers. Can't stand the 49ers, but I
Get
like
that hate
Steve
out your
Young.
heart.
But but it the thing is, part of it is like marketing, right? Like we knew, and even if you go back, like if you go back 40 years ago, maybe like 50 years ago, baseball was like that, right? Like people had these wild connections with baseball. And I think this is why I think that was, right? Because you have to remember in the late 70s and early 80s, right? Basketball didn't come on TV live like that. Very few games that you were going to see live at that time, right? And then with football, you only saw it on Sundays. There was no Thursday night. You know what I mean? There was Sunday. You watch football
Sunday
on
night
Sunday.
Football.
And you
Monday,
were only,
you might have had a Monday in like the early '90s. Monday nights.
But you were only gonna get certain teams. Like people in Florida, you either got Miami or you got the Cowboys, right? You got Miami or you got the Cowboys. That was the people in Georgia, the same thing, right? Like, and it was very rare to see any other sport beside baseball through the week because there's so many games. There's 163, 162, 163 games for a season in baseball. They play practically every night. So you had that was the only sport you were watching, that or hockey, which wasn't widely televised. Baseball was your sport. And I think
baseball was America's sport.
Sport, exactly. And I think what's happened over time is it just turns into a marketing thing. Basketball becomes one of those things where we started to see it on TV. It snowballed, and then we were seeing it 3 nights out the week. Football, obviously, we've seen where that has turned into Monday night, and now it's Thursday night, and then all these different things that they are trying to do for marketing things. And what has happened is the fans have basically jumped on board with that, and the bigger thing is the players understand that in terms of marketing, because the more that the NBA makes, the more the players make, right? Then they change these salary caps and all of that. All those things change, right? I just saw right before we went on, I seen a commercial with LeBron and Bronny, right? And it was LeBron pouring cereal in Bronny's car, right? And he fills the car up with cereal. And then Bronny walks out and opens the car door and all this cereal comes out. And Bronny's like, what the heck? And then Bron rolls up in a Phantom and rolls down the window. And it's like, don't be late to practice, Rook. Like it was funny, right? But it's also one of those things where it's like the players want to show their personality, right? Obviously, we know LeBron is at the tail end of his career. He's having fun with his son, which I see no problem with. But that is part of fans having these connections. If God, I wouldn't think this of LeBron, but let's say LeBron went out and did something egregious, right? the fans would have his diehard fans would have a certain connection to him, which would make them say some really jacked up things or go gung ho on defending him. Either way,
That's
right?
facts.
But the
That's
fandom
facts.
is different in that way. I think 30, 40 years ago, it wouldn't be like that. I mean, even like, let's talk about like Magic when all of that stuff came out and him announcing nationally that he has HIV, right? And fans didn't know what to really think, but
not at all.
you
But they didn't budge.
They didn't budge, right? And you couldn't really see how people thought. Now you can see what people think, and we know how the media train works. We know how the media train works. Group think, right? And people are like, that person feels that way. I feel that way too. Like, so
it's too easy. It's too easy for people to just fit, not even come up with their own thought process or idea, and they follow somebody else's, and it just becomes what it is today. Because even you can even say the same thing when Kobe Bryant had his thing. How many people turned against him then? Yeah, but that was before social media was as big it was. But there's so many people that turned away from Kobe.
That's true.
Based upon that, right. So it's just it is just different times, and I do believe marketing does have a lot to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when someone, especially like if an athlete does something egregious, and then they start losing the marketing and endorsements and stuff like that because they don't want to be followed by, you see what happens. Nobody wants to be a fan of that athlete very much anymore. Then they got a label on them, and it's like that's the end of that. That's almost like basically saying that's almost the end of their career. So it's just different. It's way different than what it used to be, and sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you understand it, but you definitely still do miss the old school fan that didn't, old school ways. Like I kind of appreciate it more when you have certain shows that get down in personal or interviews that get down in personal with the players to know the players than me going to social media or anything like that and knowing the players that way because I'm following their life and stuff like, to me, it's just like, I mean, that could just be, like me, I'm more of a personal type person. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my business all out in the streets or whatever like that. I keep to myself, but to learn about people. And that's one thing I read. Like, I'm not the biggest. I like Kobe, but I ain't never been the biggest Kobe fan. You know what I'm saying? He played for the Lakers. I ain't no Laker fan, and it is what it is. But one thing I appreciated about him is the fact that he was never. His personality didn't. It was never out there like that. Like he wasn't no look at me type of person. You know what I'm saying? Kobe was real personal. Really to himself. He didn't do a lot of things outside the little scandal that we didn't that happened or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, you never really heard much about Kobe. You know what I'm saying?
Because he wasn't always working.
He was always working and always to himself. So when I watched interviews, especially the interviews that I seen of him later on in his years, the personal one-on-one sit downs that he done had, especially when after he retired, things like that, I came to appreciate him more. You know what I'm saying? Because you get a side of that person that you didn't see. You respected the game, but the personality didn't, you just didn't really, you didn't have a real means to connect with him. But as he grew, you grow. You know what I'm saying? And that made me more of a fan of him because, I got to know more personally of how he thought about things. You know what I'm saying? Like going back and watching interviews, like sometimes it's better for me to appreciate a player more once they're retired because they do these interviews that are more like sit downs. Like I'm a Kevin Garnett fan.
Yeah, me too. Have been.
During when he played, but since he's been retired, a Kevin Garnett even more because the stories he's telling, you get to dive into their personality, their mentality, those type of things like that. kind of was just like, man, this is dope to hear about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To sit
Like,
to
especially
hear
the
their
things you
stories.
didn't know.
Yeah, all the things you didn't know. Like, that's why I like those players during that time where you didn't get all that access, because it's
Access to
appreciative.
them.
Like, when
Right.
I grew up, one thing that I did when I was like, I don't watch a lot of baseball. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't. It's not that I dislike baseball. I just never get to
Got
watching
into it
it
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, one thing that I used to love to do, and this is, I guess, how you could say I started my sports journey for a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching sports before the elementary school. But in elementary school, you go to the library. They had the little book fairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I used to go in there and I would rent out the books. It would be like the little football books or whatever.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers. It would be the
Right.
team book, so you could read about the team. But I used to also get the players, the ones that had player books and stuff like that
Right.
about
Right.
each player. And it engulfs you into a different world
Yeah.
and a different respect.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we lack now, because you can get all this stuff so accessible. Nobody has to research or really sit down and see certain things. Everybody can nitpick because they see everything and then they come up with. But you didn't know the players personally, but when you start reading about what they were about, it was just a different connection. Like, oh man, that's dope. Like reading about
Right.
Jackie Robinson and his story, and
Yeah.
your Babe Ruths and all that stuff back in those days. You appreciate the players a lot more, and that's the kind of old school fandom that I love.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I might not have been a Cowboy fan, but I remember breaking out those books and reading about the Cowboys and all these things like that. It's just, it appreciates the sport, and then you appreciate the players in a different level of light when you don't
Right.
have the access and you find out stuff that you never knew.
Right.
I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about somebody what they did last night. I want to know what you done did throughout your career. Let me know the
Yeah.
things that I didn't even know about you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's more meaningful to me than I see you went to the club yesterday. Now a person got an opinion and everybody else got an opinion jumping on your bandwagon, and everybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to know your story throughout every single. I don't want to know what you ate today. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
You
I just
want to
want to know
know.
what you were about. I want to know what you were
Yeah.
about and what you stand on.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of where I want to be
And,
at.
and it's funny. It's funny. Like you mentioned, like after Kobe retired, and you got a chance to see him in a different light, and with the
Mm-hmm.
interviews, and like, so historically, you like, everybody is known. Like, you could go through my social media and know how I've always been with LeBron. And yeah, it's always been fun and games, and I've always been one of those
Mm-hmm.
person. It's him as a man is a whole separate thing from him, the NBA player.
Facts.
But I've seen him be more fun. I've seen how he's grown, and keep in mind, I'm older than LeBron, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, like, to see him having fun with his son in that commercial, and just to kind of see his personality, and even like, the other day, the interview, and one of the reporters asked him about something Bronny said, and he said, "Bronny's a grown man. You got to ask him." Like, that's
Yeah.
exactly, like
Yeah. Yeah.
my son had a doctor's appointment. Doctor asked me something. I said, "He's almost grown. Ask him." Like, no,
Yeah.
don't ask me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
the same. So seeing that, like, I could appreciate that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could
Exactly.
relate, like, in terms of the father that he is, and not only that, but the husband that he is. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of who you are, there's going to be somebody that is going to make up a headline about you. There's going
Yes.
to be people that speculate, whatever,
Yes.
right? Um, I'm not interested in dirty secrets about the man,
Yeah. For
because I
real.
don't know
No.
any of that to be true. It's not my business. I know
Exactly.
what I see, and I could appreciate who I see, right?
Exactly.
And those are the kind of things that I think, is so much different between somebody my age versus somebody that might be in their early 20s.
Yeah.
they look
They
for
love more of the drama.
the drama, right?
It's
Because
more of the drama.
the lie is way more entertaining than the truth, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yep.
and that is just something that comes with this era because there's so much.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps people focused. I seen a post the other day and it said, "I wish social media would go away for a year so people could snap back into reality." And quite
I
honestly,
love that post.
and quite
There
honestly, if
needs to
social
be a
media went away
detox.
for it, yeah, there needs to be some kind of detox from social media for a
Yeah.
lot of these young people because I think with all the access, it warps them, and
Mm-hmm.
it almost that some of the BS that they read, it they believe it, right? Like
Yeah.
regardless of it not being true, you can have proof that it's not
Mm-hmm.
true, and they will say, well, somebody's hiding it, right? That
Yeah.
somebody's
Exactly.
right. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what has changed with the fandom. You get to
Yeah.
see so much. You get to see these players posting this and posting that. I mean, we know that AB might be suffering from some CTE, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these players and stuff might be suffering from that. Like, but the thing is, some of the things like that and some of these certain players that
Mm-hmm.
I feel that way about. You know what I do? You know what I do? I don't follow them on social media. I don't entertain anything that they
Yeah.
say, and I
Yeah.
leave that there. Right? I don't. I leave that there. I just don't follow them.
That's their
I want to.
business. You know.
That's their business. The fun players that are cool, like if you're having fun on social media, cool. I'll follow you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some of these players that get too negative and all of that, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I don't do a lot of player
there's
following
younger
on social
players
media.
that there's younger there's younger fans that are entertained by that, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the huge separation right there too.
Yeah. Really big facts. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Um. When you think about being a fan of your team, like with the coaches and the players and people being so quick to give up on coaches, people being so quick to give up on players, the that's another aspect in terms of the difference in the fans today too,
Yeah.
right? Like we know
Yeah.
that coaches don't get as long as a lifespan anymore because fans today want overnight success. That quarterback needs to take you to the playoffs his rookie year. It's almost like what they want, right?
Yeah.
That coach, when they hire that coach, you better be in the playoffs that year. It's almost that's forget about you building it up, but that's where we're at. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
fans want to see. Um,
Everybody wants something quick, fast, in a hurry.
right.
That's what it is. I mean, you
You
could
you
take
have
that
to
with sports. You could take that with a lot of things about life.
in life in
Like
general.
nowadays, you look at the way that people. Nobody wants to. I mean, granted, nobody wants to do a 9 to 5. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You don't want to work your fingers to the bone every single day. I mean,
Right.
you get tired after a while. I mean,
Right.
that's true. So, but I think for the majority of us, especially like our generation,
Mm-hmm.
people our age and older, you're talking about we've been working for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm tired of working. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's different. It's a different between I'm tired of working and versus I just don't want to work. I need to get it now,
Yeah.
quick, fast, in a hurry. I don't want to
Hurry. Yeah.
grind.
Right.
If I don't go through this grind, I ain't gonna never. And if there ain't no shortcuts, then I ain't want to entertain. There's a lot of this stuff that goes on, and they do that a lot with sports. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like you said, with the fandoms that are just like, okay, we'll rock with you for a couple of games, but if you ain't doing good, we need to move on to the next show.
Yeah.
Owners and stuff, they be kind of like that too. They
Yeah.
quick to fire a coach after 1 or 2 seasons of losing, but you're the owner. You're
Yeah.
the one that needs to be trying to help rebuild your squad.
Yeah.
You know, rebuilding is almost like it needs to be an overnight success versus a actual process. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it is a
there
process.
used to be the days of, if we're rebuilding, we're going through the draft, we're getting access, we're getting pieces like this through the draft. Nowadays, a lot of times it's like, well, let's pick up the biggest stars and throw a bunch of people on the same team, mesh together, 6-7 stars, or the NBA try to create the next big three that ain't worked in.
Since,
you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, really? This is what we're still trying to do because y'all want to win now real quick. But you notice that hasn't worked. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a chemistry element to it.
Yeah.
You just don't become overnight success. And I think we're losing a lot of that.
It's a grind. One of the people who I really appreciate, it's that kid Kai Cenat. He's like, I don't.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember watching something with him, and he was talking about, like, go back and look at how long I've been grinding. Like, this was not an overnight thing. Like, I appreciated him saying the grind part, right? Like, how long I've been doing this, how long I've been working to get here. This is not overnight. Same thing with the Drewski guy. Like, I appreciate when they talk about that part of it and not make it seem like this was some overnight stuff. The reason is because their fan base is a younger fan base. Like, my son is a fan of Kai Cenat. So it's important for them to hear that, for them to say, like, this ain't overnight. Like, after grind, like,
you have to put
them
it in
talking
work.
about how much work has to be put in for them to be streamers or online comedians or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate them saying that, because so many of these young adults don't understand the work that has to be put in. Like, you can't just say, yo, let me go start recording this, and, if I don't have this many followers in a week, I'm not doing well. Like,
exactly.
It does, and it's the same thing with sports. It's, you're not, you could be athletically sound, but if you don't have the work ethic to go watch the film, right, and understand the X's and O's, then it doesn't. None of that matters. I could tell you, I could name you right now 5 people that I know personally that were physically gifted enough to have made it to the NFL. But the work ethic on the X's and O's part it wasn't a strong
lackluster.
Lackluster, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with you and me. I'm sure we know somebody that could have made it to the NBA had they been willing to put in the extra work, right?
Yes, facts.
But it's one of those things where, you obviously it's 1% of people that are gonna make it to that point.
It's very slim.
It's very, very slim. But those few that make it are like generally the people that put in the extra work. Like, most of the time, it's the people that put in the extra work. Like, you're gonna get a few that slip through the cracks and their talent carried them there, but it's even like Bronny James getting all the criticism that he gets, right? I can assure you that about 80% of the people that are leaving comments about him being trash and all of that on Facebook, I can assure you, go to a basketball gym with him and watch him bust your ass.
Yeah.
I bet on that court that court he'll tear your ass up. He will cook you, right? And that's just the reality of it. Like, it's easy for them to sit on that couch and sit on social media and say that, all right, well, if he trash, go play him one-on-one. Go play him one-on-one. I bet he destroys you.
I forgot. That's what I seen one time. I seen somebody like say something like that, similar. Like the last person on the NBA roster. Don't get it twisted because he's not playing.
Right.
You made
You'll
it
go
for
to
a
any
reason.
rec center in your
Because I
little
can
town.
guarantee you, he will go to a rec center and bust 90% of y'all butts.
Yep.
It might be twos and fews that got the talent that could have made it, but other circumstances, obviously.
Right.
But I'm sure that person that we laughing at, that 15th man on that roster, he lethal in a rec center. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
like he's lethal in there. So it's not as they got there for a reason. Some and it's just like it's more than your talent. You know what I'm saying? Your talent can only get you so far.
Yeah.
You have to learn the X's and O's of the game. Mm-hmm. You have to have the discipline.
Right.
Some people don't make it because they might know the X's and O's. You might be very talented, but you don't have the discipline to put in the work to make to mold your craft into anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if people wonder, prime example. Kwame Brown.
Oh yeah.
Everybody makes jokes. I mean, and it's the biggest bust of the NBA. Yada whoop-de-woo, biggest bust ever. Yeah. Whatever. You can say what you want to say about him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you do not continue to play in the league as long as he did if you're totally trash. There was something that he had about him that made teams keep wanting to put him on that roster. Because there's people like Anthony Bennett. He was a number 1 overall pick out of nowhere, and his career dwindled quickly.
Yeah. What happened?
Kwame Brown stayed in the league for at least 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You can call him a journeyman or whatever. We can make all these funny things. Yes, he was a number 1 pick. You might say, you might sit here and say, yes, he could have been the worst number 1 pick ever. Right. But you're comparing it to other number 1 picks, and a lot of those probably panned out. Some of them probably didn't. Some fizzled out real quick. Adam Morrison didn't last very long.
Imagine if he watched film.
Exactly.
Imagine if he studied the X's and O's.
Exactly.
You know what
he would have been he could have been solid. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Even Mike Vick said he was never really one to be in the books like that. He didn't get that way until he went to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He's one of those rare talents that was able to get in, create, and last based upon his skill, period.
Yeah, his skill set,
I mean, he had knowledge of the game, but, he literally said that he didn't study. Yeah. He wasn't in the film room every single day, but he didn't do that until when he went to Philadelphia and Andy Reid and all them boys. You seen his best
Andy
season
Reid.
he had there? Boy, he was a monster that one year when he started.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, it was more the tail end of his career. Right. But imagine if he put in that work when he first got into the league.
Right.
It'd have been a different ball game that you would have been seeing about Vic. But it's just some people can last off of their talent alone, but there's something about a player that can last into any league for as long as they did. We might call them trash, but there's a reason why they're being signed. It could be now. Some of them, it might just be that they're easy to deal with, coachability, things like that. Those are still skill sets.
That matters too.
Those are still skill sets. You got to be coachable. I don't want a player on my team that's a knucklehead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to deal with that. I can't talk to you. Can't get through you. Nah, you can get out of my gym. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You got to be coachable. And some people are just coachable and they can last.
Right.
But I can guarantee you that person we calling trash is busting out butt every single day in the gym if they wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had talked about adding a segment to the show, and we were talking about work ethic, hard work, and we were going to add a segment called Y'all Must Have Forgot, right? And the player that we agreed on is Natron Means for the Chargers. Rookie season was 1994. Now, you were talking about the work ethic and all of that, and some people sometimes it's just injuries or whatever, but at their peak, you know that they were a solid player.
Yeah.
Natron Means was, his first year he didn't play every game. He was like his rookie year, but that second year, his sophomore year, he was a monster.
Oh yeah,
and
he
throughout
was troublesome.
You gotta think he had, his career wasn't long, but he when he was at his height, and he was a top running back. He had 40. I want to say he had like 47 touchdowns. Throughout his career, in his short career,
he was a load to handle.
Yeah, because he was a bigger back. I want to say he weighed like 240, 245.
245, 5'10", 245, something like that.
And you wasn't
typically was a fullback size.
Yeah, he was a fullback size, and good luck bringing him down on that first hit. It was a group effort to bring him down.
Quickness.
And
he had speed and quickness for that frame,
for that size,
and power.
Exactly.
Yeah. Natron Means is one that people don't really remember much about because, well, for one, his career wasn't that long, but he was a beast over there. He was a load in San Diego.
Yeah,
he was a load in San Diego, and when he was in Jacksonville, he was in Jacksonville for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and Natron Means was a beast. He was a beast. If his career lasted longer than what it was, I think he would have had a better name for himself out there because, but I mean, it's just sometimes you just fizzle out. You know what I'm saying? It's, especially at a running back position, a lot of times that happens. But I remember Natron Means. Yeah. I remember him.
He was one of the early big, like the big frame. You know what I mean? Because I want to say Jerome Bettis was right after him. What Jerome Bettis?
Not too much longer after that. 97, 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah, something like
that.
Yeah. So, but he, like Natron Means is. I remember him being one of the early big boys to be able to tote that rock like that, be able to run up in there, knock a dude off, get back to the outside, and scurry for about 40.
They didn't want to hit him. You didn't want to hit him.
No.
It's like how they do with Derrick Henry right now. Only thing is, Derrick Henry's taller. Yeah, you ain't want to hit that man. That was a barrel. That was a dang battering ram coming through the middle.
You have to have, and I call it the Ryan Clark mentality. You got to have that mentality. You have to know that I'm going to hit him. This might be the end, but I don't care. Like, you have to have that mentality, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what I would
come in
say.
Lacking.
It's quite a few defensive backs in the league that think before going head to head with Derrick Henry. I guarantee they think about, okay, where my contract is. There's a lot of thought. There is a lot of thought.
Of course.
Like,
you thinking while you running, somebody please get him before I gotta try to tackle him.
Everybody ain't that tough. Like, granted, you gotta be tough to be in the NFL, right? Like, like let me not take that away from them.
Yeah.
But there's
even in this NFL that's a little more less like how it used to be. You gotta have toughness.
Yeah. But there's some thinking, there's some reconsideration when players have to get one-on-one.
Yeah, boy. Especially when you run that fast, there's a different thought process that goes through your mind. Like
even like last night, I saw there was a play. I can't think of who it was for the Bucks, but he had to block Derrick Henry. Like he had to not block, but Derrick Henry was more like blocking him, and it was more like I ain't gonna be able to really run through
do
him.
Much with him. Yeah,
I ain't gonna be able to. So I'm gonna just turn my back and just fall and roll towards his legs. And it ended up being a penalty. It was a illegal low block. That's what it was. That's what the penalty ended up being. And they straight up said, you gotta reconsider some things when that man is in front of you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you gotta look at life.
So we looking at it like from that standpoint against Derrick Henry. Now think about you got a battering ram that's 5'10" for 245 like Natron Means coming through there. I mean, in an era of football where there wasn't much rules in how hard you can hit somebody. Yeah. So he's coming to punish you. Yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of them boys thought differently trying to handle that man. He was a load. He was a load. Yeah. Natron Means was a load.
Yeah. Y'all, that's the new segment. Y'all must have forgot. If there's any players that the people, the listeners and watchers can think of, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah. Post in the comments.
Post in the comments. Let us know if there's any players that you could think of that we need to do for y'all must have forgot. Please let us know. So speaking of that, your Niners played Kansas City.
There you go.
I'm back. Yep, I'm back. I'm gonna have to have some text come out and look at this. Get my lighting situation together. But what was we discussing? We was talking about
Kansas City, the play.
Oh
one of these plays.
The play where Patrick Mahomes trucked your boy, man. Trucked you in the end zone right there, man. So
not too much.
It's not critical, but what it is even with the sideline thing where he got the when he was on the sideline and did a little fake thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. I hate to say this, but I think players are scared to hit Mahomes simply because they don't want to get flagged. Like I feel like Mahomes is kind of protected a little bit in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, it's quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks
in general. Quarterbacks. I don't mean to just say
most
Mahomes,
of them are
right.
Yeah, most of them are. You know what I'm saying? The only ones that don't are the ones that are usually known for running. The ones that aren't,
bigger,
you might
bigger in stature.
Yeah, exactly.
Allen.
Going back to the dude, Mustafa is his name.
Yeah,
that got trucked by Mahomes. If you watch it, he was at a bad angle in the first place.
Yeah.
So when he turned around to try to, try to make the hit, looks like he was already kind of out of position.
Right.
So it was easy for him, and Mahomes is it's not like he's a $128 or something like that. Mahomes is a big boy.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you can't just sit there and be like, oh, you got trucked by a quarterback. No, but that's a big boy.
Yeah,
he's like every bit of 220 pounds or whatever he is.
Right.
And he's an athlete for a reason.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? But some things just bother me. Is just like on that long run, the bad angle that the dude took running out of bounds, trying to catch. It's not like Mahomes is running Lamar Jackson speed to juke you on some. You overran him on the sideline.
Yeah,
don't get me started, bro. That just had me disgusted just to see it happen.
Right.
And like even on that where he ran into the end zone, the little quarterback sneak, I knew that play was coming. I don't know why everybody else didn't. I figured he was about to do something like that and sneak it in the middle.
Right.
That was just an overall bad game, bro. I had an overall terrible weekend, sports-wise.
Yeah. I was disgusted when UT lost, when Texas lost.
Texas looked terrible. Defensively, they didn't.
No.
Offensively, I don't know what happened to that offense. It just disappeared. Like they couldn't block, bad reads, bad throws, bad
offensive
balls.
Line was shook.
They stopped running.
So here's the thing, right?
Ewers don't look right.
He does not look right. And I think Manning is better under pressure. Ewers is either gonna run, he can't move and throw the ball. He can't move and do it.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot do it. Like we're seeing it. We've seen it for the last 2 weeks. Manning can, and I think Manning is a little bit more fearless in the pocket. Like I think Manning has the idea I'm gonna stand in, strong, and I'm gonna get this ball accurately thrown. And it's not to take anything away from yours. It's not to take anything away from him. I think he has talent, but I just think
he does.
I think what we saw was someone that was shook and in the moment looked like a deer in headlights. And that's just what I think.
I mean, it's just be honest. I think it's just because for one, he wasn't playing so many. For one, being injured and not playing, kind of injury you have, you ain't played in a while. That matters. You know, you kind of rusty. You're not because he looked bad. He looked bad against Oklahoma.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. They started cranking up eventually, but that was more doing with the running game. Finally started really sparking.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, and this is one thing some coaches that annoy me about them. They give up the run too quick, or they like in that game, they weren't running the ball, but you weren't passing either. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you weren't getting no yards. So you should have been. To me, part of me just says that whole first half, you should have at least tried to run the ball a little more.
Yeah.
At least try to.
Continue to try to.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that would have slowed up pass rushing and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't run and then you're trying to pass, they know you're about to just try to pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now they covering everything. They blanketing your receivers. Ewers is in check down mode every 2 seconds he was in check down mode. Now he looked better in the second half than the first half, but you should have did something more trying to get that run started instead of just running the ball one time and then he's passing like the next 3 downs. That's not how that should go.
Right.
And I can't stand when teams do that.
Right.
It's like your identity, and prime example with the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. Once again, I don't know what it is about Kyle Shanahan, but he always wants to try to be this passing team when your identity is run the
ball. Yeah.
Why did Jordan Mason have only 8 carries in the first half?
Right. Yeah.
And you talk about, and then I'm listening to the commentators. Oh, they can't run. They're not trying to.
They're not running. Yeah, they only ran it 8 times.
And then you turn around in the second half. All of a sudden, now he's running. Yeah. He's breaking tackles. Yeah. Because you're giving him more of the ball.
Yeah.
It annoys me when teams try to go against their identity. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're going against your identity. Yes, you might get stopped 1, 2, 3 times. Find different ways to run football.
To the game plan. Yeah.
Find run towards Trent Williams' way because obviously it works. Yeah. We've been seeing it for years.
Yeah.
And when you started running, he was running towards Trent Williams' way. It's just like, do the things that get you there.
Yeah.
Like all those things, like when we was going on those nice little drives we had, and then you want to throw. Like we had a big run. Then it's a throw, throw an interception.
Right.
The next time down, one time we was in the red zone. We had a big run. Mason got you down to like the 8-yard line.
Yeah.
Then you run one more time. He gets stopped on the first run.
Yeah.
Then it's second down, third down. The second down, you're trying to throw the football. You throw a pick.
Right.
It's just like, bro, y'all are going against everything that y'all are normally supposed to be doing.
Right.
If you would stick to the game plan, Kyle Shanahan. Stick to your game plan. Right. You are a running football team that can throw the ball. There's a difference. So when you are sitting there playing like that, to me, you're playing in the strengths of the other team's
the opponent,
and you're playing against it. That's what Kansas City did the whole time against Baltimore. Baltimore tried to become last year in the playoffs, become something that you're not.
Yeah.
And what happened? They lost an easy game they could have won.
Yeah.
Trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, stick. I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, going back to the Texas Georgia thing, obviously, and like you said, the defense for Texas was pretty solid. Georgia just had some. Georgia just was getting good field position, right?
Yeah, I mean when you you playing in the backyard of somebody the team, you literally playing in their backyard, real easy.
Yeah,
it's like
now
you eventually gonna score something.
Now that's not to say that Texas can't still do their thing. They could bounce back from this, but what do you? Obviously, this shakes up the SEC because we know, pretty much every team in the SEC is lost, right? But here going on, I don't think we have a clear cut favorite. I mean, they're gonna say Georgia is the clear cut favorite now, but I don't think we have one. I think what that game showed me was Georgia came into the game better prepared. That's all I saw,
really.
right? But offensively, I still have questions because realistically,
Beck wasn't looking good.
Yeah,
they didn't look good offensively. They really didn't.
No, they just had good field position.
Great field position. Yeah. You should score when you have that type of field position. You're supposed to.
Right.
I mean, like the first 5 possessions. It seemed like the first 5 to 6 possessions, you was in red zone territory already. So you should. Yeah. So I mean, to be honest with you, I still think I think Texas is the favorite for me.
But yeah, you were saying that Texas is still the.
I still kind of got them as my team to win the SEC. You could say it's a homer pick or whatever, but I don't think that they're gonna look that bad.
Got you.
Continually going forward. I mean, this ain't the first week Georgia has looked this bad. Georgia has plenty of weeks where they look kind of stagnant like this.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got to also look at your other teams though, because I mean, there still is LSU out there lurking. Yeah, they only got one loss.
Bad. Yeah.
They don't look bad at all. No. Who else they got? I think
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. They got one loss too, right?
Yeah.
I think it's one loss or something like that. They're supposed to be playing each other though. I think this weekend or something like that. This weekend, yeah. But you got your LSU, Tennessee. They look pretty sharp.
Tennessee looks sharp. Sharp. Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee looks sharp.
Tennessee. They beat Alabama.
Yeah. They just like for real. So I mean, I still have Texas at the top. Okay. But that's not to say that, looking at their division, I mean, like I said, LSU is looking pretty good. I haven't seen anything. Tennessee is looking pretty good. Yeah. So I think it's open. That's just my pick. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's still pretty open. You know what I'm saying? I have to see how teams bounce back from L's, or like I would have to see how Texas bounce back from their loss.
Yeah.
Personally, I think they play better without Ewers right now. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what about Miami, man? Miami is
kind of weird though.
It's what's crazy about Miami? They always look like they're just like on the brink of losing, and then they're like, "Oh nope, just joking. We were just kidding all game."
Yeah, and we were just playing around.
It's like Cam Ward. It's like Cam Ward is like. I feel like he takes breaks mid game. I do. Yeah. I feel like he just be kind of cooling. Like I don't know. Like the kid. The kid where it's too easy, so they just be bored. Yeah, so they just be doing stuff.
Yeah,
that's kind of my thoughts with Cam Ward.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But them boys ball.
Yeah,
they ball out. They do. Now I don't like the fact that they play in so many of those type of games. Yeah. You could look at it from two ways. You could be like, well, they're resilient, so they're going to be able to get over. They can come out of
the situation.
You know what I'm saying? Situations that they are, but at the same time, you keep playing with fire, you about to get burned.
Yeah. No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? That from what they've been showing me is that they can play from behind, but the problem is you're playing from behind.
Right.
So when your defense, what happens when your defense can't continue to make the key plays for you to catch up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What happens when your offense really can't produce anything through the whole entire game?
Right.
Right now, your defense don't look like it's going to save you.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
So,
that's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? So you're just looking at it from different standpoints like that. Like, I can't, it's not like I'm looking at Miami and be like how Georgia is. Like,
Right.
I look at Georgia and I'm like, okay, like just watching them play Texas. Okay, your offense is trash right now.
Right.
But your defense got you back and got you into the game. It's keeping you ahead of the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Texas the same way.
Right.
It's like your offense is playing trash, but your defense is keeping you in striking distance. They're keeping you into the game. They're giving you opportunities. Then your offense cranks up. Like you say the same thing with Miami, but I done seen already too many games where the defense done put up. They done let big points on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, against
games that they should have lost. Yeah. Like they should have lost. What was it? Who was it? Florida? Was it Central? Who was it they played? That they were losing. Go ahead.
Cal.
Yeah, Cal. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Cal Berkeley.
Yeah. Yep. They were playing Cal, and that was a bad game. That should have been a blowout, to be honest.
Should have been.
But they did enough to win, so I give them kudos for winning.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't continuously play like that and expect that you're going to win.
Yeah.
At some point in time, your offense and your defense have to be clicking on the same path the same page for y'all to actually succeed in what you're trying to do.
Because for a little while, they had kept Louisville in it last weekend. For a little while, Louisville was in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that makes me nervous about them, but they're still an overall good team.
Good team.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're still winning those games. So, but that makes me nervous about where your identity really lies. Are you for real, or is this you just lucky?
Yeah.
To overcome. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, old boy does look like Cam Ward does look like he just. I'll turn it on anytime I feel like it.
Whenever I feel like.
Yeah, and that's not how you're supposed to play. Turn it on from the beginning and keep it on the whole game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not the now I'll crank up, and then it's just like, well, one of these days you can't do that.
Yeah.
Then what you got?
Then what exactly? Well, man, I appreciate you for another episode. I'm gonna get started on this editing.
All right,
man. But I appreciate you joining me for another episode of the podcast.
Yes,
I appreciate everybody that watched all the way through. Like and subscribe, all of that good stuff.
And don't forget to comment about who you think.
Don't forget to comment for
we should be talking about for our segment. Yes, sir.
Who do we talk about from any sport? Who do we talk about that is forgotten, nobody talks about, but was a beast for their time? All right, man. I'll see you back next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Peace.